Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
Hello, everybody. This is Tony Ruggiero here. Thanks for tuning in, downloading, and listening to The Tour Coach. We're rolling through another crazy summer right now, another crazy season. There's lots of golf, lots of guys playing, lots of camps, lots of retreats, lots of travel. You know what that means? It means lots of great content coming to you. So thank you, whether you're a golf instructor, like so many folks that reach out and listen to this podcast, or you're an aspiring golfer, somebody just loves learning about the game, loves learning about how to get better. Thanks for taking the time to listen to The Tour Coach, because we've got lots of great content coming for you, okay? And if you like The Tour Coach, you're going to love Pro Work on YouTube. I want to remind all of you, if you haven't seen it, go to Bushnell Golf on YouTube or go to @TheDewSweeper on my YouTube channel and listen to, watch Inside the Ropes, behind the scenes with myself, Colby Touye, Mark Hackett, and a host of others. And you'll see what it's like to be a player of all different abilities, and watch how our team approach goes behind the scenes, inside the ropes, to find out exactly what the magic that your golf swing needs to pick up 10, 15, 20 yards or lower your handicap or get all the way out onto the PGA Tour. It's all there for you on Pro Work, just like it is here on The Tour Coach. So thanks for listening. We've got some great content coming. We've got some great discussions, some great roundtables, and some great guests coming your way this summer and this season here on The Tour Coach. And I couldn't do this Tour Coach without the following sponsors. They've been loyal to me. I'm loyal to them. I think it's one of the missing things in instruction and in our world, people that stick together, and I think that's why we've all had so much success. I've got to thank the folks at Bushnell Golf for their support and their sponsorship of this show, my teaching, as well as the Pro Work series. Vineyard Vines and the folks there, unbelievable. They keep all the dew sweepers looking good, myself as good as you can, and all of the folks at our retreats, and especially Shrixon and Cleveland Golf, Chip Holcomb, Eddie Dry, and all of the folks there. I mean, we couldn't do it without it. It's over 20 years I've been with Shrixon Cleveland Golf. I'm not going anywhere without that. Mason Prang and the folks over there in California take such good care of us. They've got the best product that you can find anywhere. So special thanks to Shrixon Cleveland Golf. And then finally, my good friend Mitch McConnell and the folks at McConnell Automotive, Buick GMC here in Mobile, and Buick GMC for sponsoring the radio and everything that we've been going on for all of these years. So we've got great sponsors. We've got great partners. And we're going to give you great content that's going to help all of you play better, enjoy the game better, or understand how to teach it and communicate it better. Sit back, get yourself a beverage, and enjoy The Tour Coach. And then when you get a chance, go check out Pro Work on my YouTube. You'll be glad you did. All right, so sitting in with me here on a Sunday morning on The Tour Coach, we shows you how much we like golf instruction. We're peeling off on a Sunday morning, could be doing a bunch of different things. We're sitting around still. We had been, before we started taping this, we were talking golf instruction, but we're going to talk for the rest of the time here with you guys. John Scott Rattan, bringing him on, one of the really, really good, great, young, up-and-coming teachers I've had the opportunity to get to know a little bit over the last few years. Picked his brain. We've chatted a bunch, doing a great job with a bunch of guys out there on tour, Korn Ferry Tour, at Congressional up there in the nation's capital. Awesome spot. So, John, thanks for sitting in with me, and congrats on all the success, and looking forward to chatting a little and helping some folks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tony. I'm honored to be on. I listen to all your podcasts, and I get a lot out of them every time, and I'm hoping that I can provide some type of insight, and I can learn something from you today again.
Well, we're going to have some fun, and we're going to share some information.
Yep.
When I watched, I started getting to know you. When you're like us and you travel a lot, you're flying or whatever, you have a lot of time to. I sit and I would just always scroll through Instagram, right? And kind of that's how I started following you. And you had obviously through our golf coach development and some of the stuff you'd reached out, and we chit-chatted, but I was following you. I noticed that you got a lot of dang good players, and the thing that impressed me was, look, I mean, you're obviously in a big metropolitan area, but you got a lot of guys that I follow, and I was like, man, these guys keep getting good. And they're not all from big schools. They're not every one of them is, I had a kid in here the other day I've taught forever, plays at Alabama. Not every one of them is at an SEC school or ACC school, which we all know is like, or California or Texas, which, obviously those kids are the best of best. But you've got kids coming up from different angles, different schools, getting really good, and I've been following that, and I thought, this would be good to share with folks. So how did you get started in this journey, and what are some of your influences?
Well, I started my journey like many coaches. Like I wanted to play, and I played my college golf at Tennessee, and I turned professional. I probably played 3 or 4 years. I was good enough to play in like maybe one, I think it was nationwide event, but
okay.
the game was going in a totally different direction. Like it was going, you hit it far, and I wasn't hitting it very far. And, so I started coaching, and I wanted to be a college golf coach. And so I got my start in that direction. And back then, like I think it was 2009 or 10, I went to go see Cameron McCormick teach in Texas. Like I think there was one year his student, I think Jordan Spieth won the U.S. or the British Open.
Mm-hmm.
I think his student won the U.S. Junior the same week. And I think his student won the Western Am, like all in the same week. I'm like, dang, this guy's pretty good. Like I want to go pick his brain a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I spent a couple of days with Cameron, and it just blew me away at how he communicated with his students, and the way he was able to kind of peel the layers off the onion and communicate and develop. Like I was very taken by that. And so I would say that like had a big impact on me. And then TPI, I think, has been a huge resource for me. Greg Rose is from Maryland. Not many people know that TPI started in Maryland.
Wow. Did not know that. New nugget.
Yeah, Dave Phillips was the director of instruction at Caves Valley. And Greg Rose, when I was growing up, I started seeing Greg when I was like 14 or 15.
Okay.
And he was teaching Olympic gymnasts like Dominique Dawes and stuff like that. So like I went to see Greg, and I've stayed in touch with Greg from here on out. Like TPI has been a huge resource for me. So, learning from other teachers, like guys like you, and then my coach growing up, Bob Dolan, at Columbia Country Club, and Cameron and Mark Blackburn, those guys have all had a huge influence on me, not only me, but tons of teachers coming up. So that's kind of where I got my start with it.
Yeah, Cameron, man, I tell you what, he does an unbelievable job. Not sure he gets enough credit, him and Jordan, for one, understanding that golf goes up and down, right? And I've always respected their relationship and the job Cameron's done with Jordan for not only how good he was, but like they went through tough times together. And that's, I mean, you're in this business. That's incredibly difficult. And for them, that speaks volumes at Cameron's ability to not just coach, but to manage relationships and understand the dynamic of what's going on, and also to keep people on track. And I mean, he's one of the best in the world at it.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think it's such an underestimated skill as a coach to be able to do that. It's not just about, hey, what's the club face look like on your backswing. It's so much more, helping the relationship and putting Jordan as the person first, and what does Jordan need, and what does Jordan need. And I think couldn't agree with you more. I think everyone wants to do captain shit until they're the captain, right?
Right.
It's easy on the outside looking at it being like, yeah, I could just, tell Jordan to do this in his swing and he hits it better. It's just not, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work like that.
He's done an awesome job with him. And Daniel Berger and like so many, he's helping Tom Kim, and, he's done a great job with him.
Oh, absolutely. So let's, so you wanted to get into coaching, obviously the college coaching route, then you had the TPI influence, similar to me. My as far as like my mentor, Hank Johnson, was on the forefront of TPI, and that, did with before TPI, Alabama Sports Medicine and all that stuff. So a lot of my background, and teaching pivot and some of the stuff sprung off some of that same, the same idea and understanding what the body could and couldn't do. And then obviously led me to my work with Colby. But you talk a little bit about, said, let's talk about Joseph Bramlett. Okay, I've been incredibly impressed with how good he's played over the last several years. How did you guys get together? And I want to go from there. Like, what do you think it is? If you were a 17-year-old and came to you and you said, like, what do I got to do to go from where I am, decent high school golfer, to have a chance to play pro? I want to pick your brain. Like, what do you think that person needs to do, or what's the pathway for those type of people? Because you're very good at it.
So I appreciate that. Well, Joseph. So I met Joseph. I'll backtrack on that a little bit. So I played the USAM in 2002 at Oakland Hills, 2001 or 2002 at Oakland Hills, and that was my first USAM. And same with Joseph. Joseph was at that point the youngest player ever to play in a USAM. So he was like 13 or 14, and I just remember seeing Joseph there. He was tiny, he was small, but the shirts we used to wear, like they down past your elbows, like his shirts were going down to his wrist. I'll never forget seeing him. I was like, man, that kid's young. And like, so I knew obviously I knew who Joseph was, but his agent at the time was a member at my golf course.
Okay.
Bethesda Country Club's kind of where I started coaching full time. And so in 2016, Joseph was on a major medical from the Korn Ferry Tour. Like, he had played 1 year on the PGA Tour and then finished maybe 26, didn't keep his card or get his card on the PGA Tour. So his agent said, like, hey, Joseph's been out for 3 years with a back injury, and like, we're having trouble, getting him back playing. You take a look. No problem, of course. His name is Fred. I was like, of course, Fred. Take a look. And I remember, Joseph walking in, and at that time, like, he walked up on the range, and like, he didn't walk well. Like, you could tell he was in pain, and he couldn't hit anything over a 7-iron. If I showed you the swings, like, he was swinging away from pain. He wouldn't get inside bend. He didn't really have any hip turn, didn't really know how to like get into his right hip and his backswing. So it created a lot of extension in his spine. So you could see some things that were glaring, that why his back would act up. And, it was hard for him to finish a 4-round tournament at that point. So that was 2017-ish. And so we spent a good year. He was playing mini tour golf. He was playing, the Cal State Opens and the stuff in Monterey out there. He's from California. And he had 3 starts left in the Korn Ferry Tour to earn his medical money back. It's a cool story. I went down and caddied for him in Panama, and he finished 20th. And the next week in Mexico, he finished 4th. So it's incredible. He shot like a final round, 7 or 8 under, and finished 4th. And, kept his card in 2019. He's back on the PGA Tour, and he's been on the PGA Tour ever since. And it's very rare that you see somebody. It's very rare that you see somebody, I think, go from a back injury to now he's like top 10 and top 15 in driving distance and clubhead speed, and like, he moves it, and like, he's hitting it hard. It's not a common thing.
What did you do to make him, or help him, enable him to play well at the level he is, and obviously improve, not just get back to what he was, but better? I mean, to be where he is on the PGA Tour, and do that around his back, or to do it. What type of I'm guessing here the TPI background and that type of those resources helped you and aided you in this.
Yeah, for sure. We got him on AMM, and we measured, and you could see the extension and through his spine and his backswing. So we knew that's where we kind of had to address. We got him loading into his right hip better. We got him turning his spine and like using his core a little bit differently in his backswing. And then his transition sequencing was way more dynamic. If you can think, most of the time I see somebody in a reverse spine, their transition sequence usually starts with their arms. Like, very rarely are you going to see somebody like have a little glide that leans towards the target. And so you combine those factors. Okay, we get him into his right hip. He's able to create a little bit of sequencing to it. And then Joseph, 6'4", he's a hell of an athlete. Yeah. And so you're starting to create more force. You create more speed and more force. And, I think when I met him, his club speed was like 114 or 15. And it's probably on tour, probably 23-ish now. And he's an incredible wedge player. That I think the underrated part of his, like, he's an incredible wedge player. Like, inside of, I say wedges for him, there's sometimes his lob wedge, he swings in at like 99 miles an hour, which is like, I have to check my TrackMan a couple times when I see that. But, his wedge play is very good for a long hitter. And, like, you look at statistically, he's very solid and all that. So we got him into his right hip. He has some good trainers around him that we work very closely with how to move his body better and how to like get into some of those positions and get a better sequence with it. So I would say a lot of it would be getting into his right hip, reducing his, extension in his back, and then a lot of sequencing work.
Yeah, I love that. I my personal beliefs are, obviously there's outliers to everything, but that, I think that these people are learning to, everything's about speed now, right? Everybody that comes to us. And I mean, we can't run from it. We can't hide from it. But, I feel like, some of the reasons some of these people get hurt is because they're creating speed that they're not strong enough to handle yet,
Totally.
And,
totally.
And I think that when that happens, you start seeing like crazy side bends and you see all this stuff. And while the numbers look good on a TrackMan or a quad, they're maybe not, healthy. And so I've just, kind of going towards like where I had said like a 17-year-old, and I want to pick your brain on this, is like, I think you develop a good turn where they can load and sequence and unwind. And then, I think once you get there, a whole lot of it is like maintaining that, but then they get strong enough to be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think like the simplest way I can say it, and it makes sense in my head perfectly is, but you have to understand what good golf is. Mm-hmm. And I think when it's easy as what I see in so many golf pros is we have the worst FOMO, right? Like we see somebody doing something or a new training aid and like we're fear of missing out. Oh, I want to go to this conference, or I want to do, see what this guy's doing. And we lose sight on what's good golf. Good golf is hitting in the center of the face and being able to have a dominant ball flight and control your ball and control your distance. Like that's not sexy, but it works. And I think with any player, I'm always asking myself, what skill do I want to improve today? Like, what skill am I working on? I'm not doing it to, make it look better. I'm like, hey, how can I help this player, or help the person in front of me learn a different skill or own this skill at a higher level or be able to fight the ball in the wind? And because there's all these things, if you play at a decent level and you're around it, like, what it takes.
No question.
Like Trevor Cohn's a student of mine. Trevor, is an incredible ball striker. And he, where we got to get better is how far he hits it. And we got to know how far he hits it on a more consistent basis. And that's not sexy. It's not like talking about lead wrist flexion and ground force, but it matters. And I think you're always, as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, is learning who you are as a golfer and not forgetting what good golf is. And what does good golf look like for you? Is it shaping the ball a certain way? Is it knowing how to eliminate three putts? Is it learning something from decades so you make better decisions? And I think you're always trying to figure something like that out. But going from 17 to 22 as a golfer, that's a huge journey. I mean, right. It's talk about ups and downs. Like, geez.
Yeah, and I think the one thing too that parents and you could apply this to the 12 handicapper that comes to you or me that says, hey, I want to get where I'm competitive, right? Like the age, the handicap level doesn't mean like the journey's the same. And I don't think people understand, we had touched on this earlier, like how many ups and downs, and that the path from where you are now to where you're going to be in 4 years, if you're going to improve a lot, isn't a straight line.
No, it's not linear. Right? I wish it was.
Yeah. We'd be way less stressed, right? I probably wouldn't be going to Springfield tomorrow, right? I mean, as lovely as it is this time of year in Springfield, Missouri, but wouldn't be doing it. And I think that's where, when it comes to coaching and teaching, is, and people are going to hear this and they're going to argue, but like there's more to develop in talent and teaching and coaching than just X's and O's, wrist angles, square club faces, and understanding numbers. And there's so much more.
I tell all my students, at some point I'm going to tell all my students, like, golf swings don't win tournaments, people do. Mm-hmm. And I think like I get pushback on that sometimes, like, no, like, usually the best technique is going to win. And I'm like, it's not going to win all the time, because you could be Sam Burns and plug it in the lip, and Sam's got an incredible golf swing, and you saw what happened to him this week at Scott. That was crazy. And it's just not that simple. It's how you react to certain outcomes. It's how like Rory's had to deal, like Rory just won today, incredible finish, he had to make that 15-footer on that last hole or however far it was. And he had to be able to manage all the ups and downs he's had to face the last, missing the cut at the PGA or missing, not the PGA. He missed a cut in the major this year. But you know what I'm trying to say is like, you have to deal with so much more than just how your backswing looks.
And I think Rory, for those of us, especially developing young people, is a perfect example to explain to me, like, if people don't think that off the golf course stuff impacts how you play and stuff, with everything that's gone on, regardless of what side of the fence you're on with LIV and the PGA Tour, he expended an enormous amount of energy, emotional and mental, and attention to
incredible.
That, right? Right?
Yeah, incredible.
And there's this is his second win of the year. By the way, Trevor Cohn, your student's leading at the Barbasol, so a shout out to that. I know you'll be excited watching that today. Paired, I think paired with my former student Lucas. I think they're paired together. Be a good match. Two good guys. But there's just understanding that there's more to it, I think, is important for people, is that they want to develop. And that when you go take a golf lesson from somebody like you or me, like, what you need to do to get really good is more than what we're going to tell you in an hour or 2 hour session. And whether you do 3D or you swing cat or whatever the heck it is, like, there's more to it. And I get this guy from Philadelphia who was like an 11 handicap and now he's down to like an 8. And I mean, he texts me nonstop, and he's like, "Well, I've just got to get better. Like, I'm not making enough birdies." I'm like, dude, like, you've done this in 6 months, man. Like, it isn't all, strawberries and cream.
It's not all strawberries and cream, and I think that's it's definitely not. And I mean, I know me, I beat myself up on it all the time for it. Like, I wouldn't say I'm the best at handling it, and I need to. It's definitely not easy, and the learning from a lesson doesn't start, or it doesn't really happen in the lesson when you think about it. Like, you come and get instruction from Tony, and it's like the learning happens afterwards and how you apply it 5 days later. It's that journey is so tough, and it makes this game so rewarding and so hard at the same time.
People, I do a lot of my instruction where I have folks come in to work 2-3 days, and we may work 20 minutes at a time, 20 minutes, whatever. They're rotating around, they're doing different things. And it was by happenstance, like most things you discover that work for you. It's not like you plan it, it just happens. I had a couple good players that were like, man, this is way better than taking a 2 hour session, because like, I get some info and then I get to go work on it and process it.
Yeah, and they get to go make it their own.
Right.
Come back with a question.
Yeah,
and then there's a back and forth to it that's invaluable. You're basically getting 5 weeks of back and forth in that session. That's awesome.
And we had a guy a couple weeks ago was a former hockey player, right? Had played developmental hockey. And he said to me at the end, he's like, man, this was great. I'm always, like, you're always worried when somebody comes to you, like, hey, did they get what they're looking for out of it? I always worry about that. Like, I don't want somebody to leave and be like, that's not what I was looking for. And he was like, man, this took me back to like real high end when I was a really good junior, hockey camps. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, man. Like, we worked on everything we needed to do to be good at hockey, but we got like little bursts. And then it was our job to go play and do it, apply it, then come back. And I think that a lot of teachers like you and that are having a lot of success, developing good young players, is because we're understanding more about how you develop talent, rather than the traditional way that, like, when I was coming up, I was fortunate to have some great teachers, but I got a 1 hour golf lesson and then I was just on my own for a month or whatever, right? So I think the way we develop talent is different now than it used to be.
So different. It's so different. It's so different when I was in college or growing up than what it is now. It's handled way different. And we have way more at our disposal to use it. I mean, we have way, as coaches, we have, you have so much technology, and then you have so much information around it from a PT, from a trainer, from guys like Colby, who's incredible at what he does and communicating these big macro movements in these like small, easy ways to understand. and the way you nurture it, it's so much different. And going back to Cameron, I think Cameron's incredible. He's an incredible coach at that. Incredible coach at that.
How do you, on that level, whether it's an up-and-coming good player, Joseph Brandlett, Trevor Cohn, how do you manage all the because there's a lot of info out there, like where they've got their trainers, they've got their agents when they're pros, they've got wives and girlfriends, they've got a short game coach, they've got, a PT. How do you manage all that info so that people stay in their lanes and that the player continues to get better and doesn't go off on tangents?
That's a great question. I think it's easier said than done. And I think the number one thing is you have to have a really good relationship with your player.
Right.
Like me and Joseph and me and Trevor or whoever I'm like, you have to have a strong relationship and communicate with them really well and often. I think the best work that I do is away from like a tour event. I go to tour events, you go to support your player if anything comes up, but I really try to do the most work I can do away from tournaments. So like this week, Joseph's not playing in Reno, so I'll be in Las Vegas with him for a couple of days at the end of the week, and we'll get with his trainer and we'll get with his putting coach, and we're going to get everybody together and we're going to do it away from the tournament and then implement it when he plays. So when he gets to the course or when he gets to Minnesota on Monday, like he's got 2 or 3 simple things he knows he needs to do and play. And same with Trevor. I think it's they're so different people, like each player is so different, and Trevor doesn't want a lot of information. Trevor could be done in an hour and a half, and he won't need you for a while. He's a little bit different. You as the coach, you're always like kind of a leader of where that next step's coming from. But I think the more you do away from a tournament, the more successful you're going to be at help managing all of those relationships with it. But it all comes down to your relationship with the player and making sure that's super strong. So if anything comes up, you can communicate. Yeah,
I think, the work away from the golf course is so key. And especially, I think, having a good plan, especially with like your, preparing them as they come up. Right. Because, and I think it's hard when you start with a guy who's already a tour player, because I think they get where they kind of expect you to come out, and that's the work they do because, a lot of times that's where you meet them. And so you start working, but I think the sooner and the better you can condition your player to say like, hey, I'm going to come out. Basically I'm there to check on you, make sure everything's okay. But like, we're going to plan our work,
that's so true.
To where it's
that's
like,
so
hey,
true.
And I always think big picture and don't always tell students. Like I won't always tell a player, but like I'll know, when we get to November and December and there's not much going on and we've got a little time, this is what I want to change or do. Right. I think nowadays with scheduling I think you've hit the nail on the head with off week work. I think it's more important than ever. And I think that's one of the challenges of what we do. And I think that's now for high school kids to whatever. There's just so much to do, man. Like these junior golfers play a busier schedule than tour players. It's ridiculous.
I was going to say, like in college, like I tell all the kids I coach in like the amount of qualifying and tournaments you do, like you don't have time to work on your swing. Like I was a college coach, I played. Like we don't schedule, hey, from 2 to 4 o'clock, you're going to have time to go work on your off swing. Like that's just not what you do. You have time to practice your short game. You have time to do some type of other. They say you're only allowed 20 hours a week, but it is what it is. A round of golf for the NCAA is like 3 hours, so we know how much time you're putting in. So you don't really have time to go like. If you're playing and competing, you don't have time to go work on your swing, and it's no different at the tour level. And it makes it so much easier. The better status you have, like you can make your own schedule, and you can plan your off weeks a little bit better, and you're playing courses that suit you. And it's a different level than where you have to go chase every tournament, and you're like, man, like I've played eight or nine in a row, and the last thing you want to do on a Tuesday playing 8 or 9 in a row is go introduce a new concept on the driving range in Minnesota. Like I don't think that's what good golf looks like. Sometimes you'll probably have to do that, but the last thing you want to do is try to introduce something really, really new on a Tuesday. Like that's not, you try to stay away from that as far as, I want to stay as far away from that as possible.
I had a player going through a few years back was going through a stretch of playing great golf, having a great year. Gets to Minnesota, and somewhere in there, somebody decides that like they should evaluate like I think it was their driver, right? And or it was driver or 3-wood, I can't remember. Anyways, but the player hit probably on a Tuesday and Wednesday, probably 6 bags of balls trying to figure this out, right? And this guy he'd had a bazillion top 10s, close to winning. Never played good. Like, I swear, Caddy and I always said, like, that was the start of not playing well for a stretch. Like, there was a problem introduced that wasn't a problem, right?
Yep.
And then you got the player thinking about it. Then not only that, they're out of their routine. They're hitting a zillion more balls than they normally hit. And it was a start. And I think that's like, I've always said that the times I've gotten fired were the times I lost control and didn't do as good a job as I normally do managing situations. And that was one of them, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about. And I think that's what you're doing such a great job and why you've got young players having such success.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I said, it's like you do the best you can to create a plan and you stick to the plan, and it's never gonna be as linear as you want, where you say you go give a lesson and good golf happens right away. And gosh, Minnesota, I remember that range is dead into the wind all the time, and that's the last place I would want to do a driver fitting.
Right.
But the environment there is it's tough. That's a tough one.
Also too, that range is wide open, right? So there's not like a lot of targets where you get on a golf course. I just, same thing. And I mean, that's what, one of the distractions that's out there that you have to navigate is equipment people, right? Always, everybody's got a shaft, everybody's got a head, right? I mean, it's one of the things. So you look at last question here. So you look at guys you got like Joseph and Trevor, young guys playing great golf, having a lot of success. When you look at their development and you look at what makes them good, is there a common denominator when you look at good young players now? You say that, I mean, without distance, because I think most people we able to make hit almost far enough now. I mean, I really do, with the ball and the club. So what is a common denominator you see in people that are getting better?
I mean, I think it's resiliency. I think that, pro golf beats you up. I don't care at what level, what player you are, it's going to come catch you. And whether you're Tiger Woods and you're not chipping well, or you're Jordan Spieth and you're on top of the world, and then, something changes. He got really sick and, he didn't feel great. And I don't care who you are, it's going to come, it's going to come find you. And it's the ability to, get back on the horse the next day and be resilient. And sometimes, courageous doesn't look like doing something heroic. Courageous is like, I'm going to go, believe in myself and wake up tomorrow and go practice and, get better at it. And I've missed a couple cuts in a row, but I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to go, believe in myself and go work on it. And I think without that, there's no chance. So I would say it's like the resiliency of learning how to deal with failure and learning how to deal with disappointments. Like Jimmy Stanger is a great example. Like Jimmy, he just won in the Corn Ferry a couple weeks ago. In the last couple years, Jimmy, was probably inside the top 25 going into the last 4 or 5 events, and he never sealed the deal. And to be able to, it'll beat you up, and you'll lose some faith in the process of what you're trying to build and do and yourself. And those were a lot of those conversations we had this winter. Was like, how do we get past that? And I'm so proud of him for being able to pick himself up and believe in himself and work hard on the things he needed to work hard on. As much as I am is him being able to do a pelvic tilt, because that's some of the things he needs to do in his golf swing. But like, what really got him through is his own belief in himself and that resiliency to push through when it gets tough. Like,
Oh, that's it.
I think without that, you got no chance.
And that's for every level of golf.
Every level of golf. And as a coach, you're always coaching that. Like, the game's over taught, under coached, and like you've got to, like, the coaching aspect of it, like you got to have high IQ in that regard.
Awesome stuff, John Scott. Thanks first of all for taking the time. if anybody out there listen, we have a lot of golf teachers that listen to this, obviously, as well as students and stuff. So if you're one of those and you got a ballot for Golf Digest top 50 best of state, John Scott deserves everybody's vote. One of the great young teachers out there. I'm going to give you a shout out. I really do. I admire the work you do, and I think you're doing great. And thanks for taking the time on this morning. Good luck to Joseph and to Trevor today, and keep up all the good things, and I'll look forward to catching up with you soon, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this edition of The Tour Coach and this conversation that we brought to you about playing, learning, and teaching the game of golf. We'll be back next week with another edition of The Tour Coach. In between now and next week, make sure you follow us on our social channels. You can always find me at The Dew Sweeper on Instagram, or go to our YouTube page where you'll see a scene and a video from my teachings daily on our YouTube channel. You can find that by looking up Tony Ruggiero and the Dew Sweepers on YouTube. Until then, make sure you follow and check out everything Tour Coach and all our sponsors, Srixon Cleveland Golf, Bushnell, Vineyard Vines, and Buick GMC. I'll be back next week to help all of us appreciate, learn, and enjoy the game of golf.